The other one was Vance Dior.
All right, shout out.
And we couldn't stand each other.
Oh, wow.
Because, back then, first thing he said to me when he seen me, I was working in the office, because I always prided myself on how I dressed, and I was voted on my graduation best dressed in my high school for males. So it was like, it's that bad Dior card then. I was like, excuse me? And after that, I was like, who's this arrogant son of a, and we just never got along. Years later, we ended up putting aside our differences and actually dated for a while before he became incarcerated.
Oh,
but I still miss him very much. Yeah.
Congratulations.
But anyway, that was my first introduction to anybody dealing with ballroom. And then there was a guy. I ran track for Westinghouse, and mostly it seemed like every gay person in Westinghouse was on the track team. And shout out to Lauren Ebony, that was on the track team, which is now a DJ down at Langston's. Shout out to Patrick Cokie Ebony, which also ran track with us. Junior, the late Junior Ovanis, the mother and founding mother of the House of Ovanis. They ran track with us. So many, and that was, we used to go to meets, and I wasn't really out then, but they were like really out, and we would be coming through the gate, going to developmental meets, and we'd be playing Love Is a Message on this big boom box, and they're like, oh, here come the house girls, because we coming through the gate, the kid, Lauren be voguing, and it was like, I was so embarrassed at the time, but but nobody would dare mess with us though. But it was an experience.
Yes.
And I remember I did a fashion show, and Lauren vogued in the fashion, and they kept calling him Spider-Man, and I'll never forget that. And there was a guy, I guess I could quickly mention his name. His name was Jonathan, that I went to school with. He used to go with a friend of mine, and I remember he used to talk to me about his sister, his brother. They used to have all these gowns in the house. And I was like, really? I was like, yeah, he wears these gowns. Little did I know that this same brother was someone that I had went to junior high school with.
Ooh, spook.
And that person in junior high school had a beautiful voice and would always sing for assembly and drive literally every girl in that school crazy. Ooh. And later on, that person came to be Octavia St. Laurent.
Spoon. You're making me gag now.
And it was so funny the first time I seen her in the village, and I said, wait a minute. I know you. And she just looked at me. She said, shh. I said, wow. I said, absolutely beautiful. Because I always heard rumors that, when she left 391, she went to Erasmus, that, she had started wearing 2 earrings, but back in the day, that was unheard of for a man to wear 2 earrings.
Right.
Right. And
if you wore it on the wrong side, you was gay, too.
Right. She started wearing silk blouses to school. And I was like, and, these came from, like, some of my homeboys that, I went to 391, that we all knew her then. And I was like, get out of here. And I had never seen her until I met her brother. And I remember, while in high school, I started hanging out my cousin, God rest his soul, Andre. He used to be an Omni. And he introduced me to Kevin Omni.
Oh, wow. Kevin Omni. Rest in peace, by the way. God bless him.
And he was, everything was still very new then. I met him, and, oh my God, I forgot, Thomas. Yes, Thomas. And we, kind of hit it off, and I believe Kevin was dating my cousin. I'm not sure. Anyway, one thing led to another, and I became an Omni.
Ooh.
And first ball I went to was in Brooklyn, and I remember they had runway, and Karen's like, get up and walk. And I said, I don't know. Because I came done, because I just did a fashion show. And so I came done. They can't send the car for me to pick up me, Bootsy Omni, and Derek Omni. We were all there at the show. And they came to pick us up in a Rolls Royce. And we went to the ball in grand style. I walked in, and they said, walk. I was like, I don't know what to do. They said, just do what you do. So I got on the floor, and I walked. I remember David Estrava was on the floor. David Ian Estrava was on the floor.
Shout out to
David
Ian Estrava, yes. At the garage?
No, it was in Brooklyn, this little place
right.
called, what is it, Padilla or something like that. It was so long ago, and I remember Dennis St. Laurent, and there was a few others on the floor. And I walked, and Junior was on the mic. He said, who are you? And I didn't answer. He kept saying, who are you? So Kevin stood up and said, his name is Devin Omni, with an O for overness. And the crowd went up. And needless to say that, man, I won first time out, you know. And then my name just started circulating. I used to hang, you know, I used to go shopping in the village with my mom, which is like the original fact. Hey, we couldn't deal with me being, you know, gay.
Wow.
She left me in the village one day. She said she had to go back to work. So I said, well, I'm just going to walk around. And that same day, I met my very best friend. And that was Kim Pendarvis, the late Kim Pendarvis.
What?
And Kim said, what's your name? And so I said, Devin. She says, you look fab. Come with me. And she grabbed my hand, not knowing me from a can of paint. And I said, where are we going? She said, just come with me. And we walked to Washington Square Park.
Ooh,
and I didn't know
Washington Square Park.
And I didn't know that was actually the runway. That was the village runway. It's like you took that middle aisle coming up the park, and you just, like, you know, just greet everyone. And it was the time to be fab. And so everybody's like, who's that? Who's that? Oh, that's Devin. He don't see you. She would never let me talk to anybody. And people used to talk Pig Latin around me all the time. And I'm like, what are they saying? And she said, oh, that's Pig Latin. I have to teach you. That Pig Latin literally saved our lives a few times, you know.
Wow. How important the Pig Latin was to the community back then, wow.
Extremely important. You know, getting off topic for a second, I mean, me and Kim were on the train coming from the club one night, and these boys tried to rob us. And I remember one, it was so funny. He had on a McDonald's uniform, and he's with some other guy, and they tried to stick us up on the train. And, you know, and Kim was like, telling me to pick up and say, I'm not getting robbed tonight. And so I was like, okay, what are we going to do? She was like, okay, your stop is coming up. And I remember we were pulling into Utica Avenue. And so we spoke back and forth, and he was like, what are you saying? What are you saying? And I remember he saw my ring, and he said, run that ring. And I said, I can't get it off. I'm not taking nothing off. So he was just about to strike us, and when we got up, they said, where you going? And they was getting ready to attack. Kim reached in the pocket, pulled out her legendary lock and a sock, bopped one boy in the head. He went down. I jumped on, pulled myself up on both sides of where the door, like where the handle was on both sides of the door, and put my feet in the air and drop kicked the other boy in the chest. He went flying into the other door, and we jumped on the train.
You better run.
When the train doors closed, they were trying to keep doors open, and me and Kim both fell into a dip on the platform at Utica Avenue.
And everybody was Kung Fu fighting. Can I ask you a question real quick? Is it true? Is it true Kim Pendarvis was a butch woman or trans man?
No, you know, there was two Kim Pendarvises. There was a butch Kim Pendarvis, and there was little Lucy. They called her Crayola. They called her Lucy.
Word.
They called her Red. That was the Kim Pendarvis.
That question was very important, by the way.
Yeah, there were two Kim Pendarvises. One was a butch, and one was a butch queen.
Word.
And needless to say, I remember she used to always do things. She said, oh, you sew? I didn't know you sew. She said, so I started teaching Kim how to do basic things like cut out a pair of pants and so forth. And then she just became a monster with it, you know.
Ooh.
And she said, you know, years later when we at some point became adversaries, she would say, yes, that's right, Devin taught me how to sew, but I sew circles around him now.
Ooh. Shit,
Yeah, but you know,
I don't know what happened with the Washington Square Park thing where this child sees you.
Yeah, well, you know, the kids, you know, after a while, you know, when I learned to speak Pidgin Latin, I would hear all the things that they were saying, but I was very quiet. You know, I was very quiet.
He was
you know, the first time I was able to read was when somebody would say, "Oh well, you didn't know all that anyway, just that, and then Pidgin Latin." And so I spoke back to them. I said, "Really?" I said, "That's why you're trying so hard to talk to me." And they gave said, "Oh my God, he knows Pidgin Latin." So you know, that was like, okay, don't mess with him anymore. You know, nobody could understand why me and Kim were friends, because we were like night and day. He was light and bright and extremely flamboyant, and I was just kind of subdued, quiet, you know, but really no nonsense,
right.
You know. And after a while, I began to love that little runway in Washington Square Park. I would come after work, and I would come in from the back where the fountain is, so I could come straight down and just be waving to everybody and speak to everybody as I came through, you know. Especially if you just finished shopping, you know, because everybody want to know, what did you get? What did you get? You know, it was cool. It was many things that we did, you know. Some good, some not so good, you know. Yeah, I have a bad side.
Tell us a little bit about the House of Elite.
Okay.
How did that come into play?
Real talk, the House of Elite opened in 1988. It was not the house. I was at the Elks Lodge one night at a ball, and the House of Extravaganza passed out the flyers for their upcoming ball at Tracks. And the flyer for grand prize read, "A runway as a house." It was the first time in history that ballroom had runway as a house, and it was presented by the Extravas.
Word.
So, you know, back then there was still a lot of ballroom politics involving, you know, the Latinos and the black children. You know, it was still, they were undeniable when it came to their femme queens, you know, which upset, you know, a lot of the girls, because, you know, when the trans girls infused into ballroom, it was just upsetting. You know, it was just, it was sickening, because their femme queens were not to be messed with, you know. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, the Extravas never got the support from the community like they should have gotten. And I believe it was just a lot of, you know, shade, you know. But we've always been cool with Extravas. I've always loved them to death. David Ian was my heart, you know, Danny, Angie. Yeah. The original Extravas, you know. Yeah. And I love Hector to this day. He's called Grandfather Hector. Yeah, so anyway, so at that time,
question. How many houses have you been exactly?
I was on Omni for a short period of time, and I moved to the house of Pendarvis. And Pendarvis, I was introduced as Omni. I made my name as a Pendarvis.
Oh, so tell us a little bit about the Pendarvis.
I was introduced as an Omni. I made my name as a Pendarvis, but I reigned as an elite.
Okay, so we already talked about a little bit about the House of Ultra Omni. By the way, is there anything else that we have to expose?
There's a story I could tell as to why I left, but, you know, I love Kevin, so, you know, and at this point in the game, you know, things, you know, we were all young, things happen, and I have no regrets, you know. It was my first experience, which I will always remember, you know, and I've loved Omni since, but, you know, sometimes things happen for a reason, and you move on, you know.
Right. So there's no shade.
There was no shade.
So then you went into the house of Pendarvis. Tell us the story about Pendarvis, please.
Being that me and Kimber became best friends, and at the time, myself, Saul Pendarvis, he was originally an Omni as well, and Irma, not Miss Irma, was it Irma? No, Miss Arms. Arms Army. We left to become Pendarvises. And I remember talking to Avis on